Hello everybody and welcome to my channel once again for a video that does not have my face. My face will not be appearing in this video, which is a delight not only for me but for all of you lovely people. No one's going to want to look at this hideous face when this guy is talking about his top 20 films of 2018. That's right, top 20. This was a pretty incredible year for film. There were a lot of good films to talk about this year, and I was gonna do a top 10, but here's the thing, I just couldn't. If I had done a top 10, I would have had like 20 honorable mentions, and that's a lot. I still have a lot of honorable mentions, but I just felt it was right to do a top 20 this year, because I'm not doing a top 10 worst of the year, because I haven't seen a lot of bad movies this year. So here's how this is gonna work. I'm gonna do my honorable mentions, and I'm gonna list to you guys all my films. But I want to start by saying this is my personal list. If you don't like the order that the films are in, that's totally fine. Everything's subjective. This is my personal list. These are the films that stuck with me the most. So before we get into the top 20, we're going to talk about the honorable mentions. Avengers Infinity War, Black Panther, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, Incredibles 2, You Were Never Really Here, Green Book, Ready Player One, Paddington 2, Upgrade, Annihilation, Cold War, Creed 2, and The Other Side of the Wind. And now I have a quick side note before I get into my top 20. So there are a few films that you're not going to see on this list because I didn't get around to watching them, either because they came out at times when I was busy, or they just never came to New Jersey. And there are many films that I'm going to list right here to show you guys. Alright, these films are not going to be on the list, unfortunately. I really hate that I couldn't see these films, but you know what? That's what happens when you live in New Jersey. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into the top 20 films of 2018. Kicking off the list at number 20 is 8th Grade, directed by Bo Burnham. This was his directorial debut, and oh my god, I was really blown away by what he was able to bring to the big screen. His screenplay was fantastic, his direction was really strong, the acting, especially from Elsie Fisher, was really strong. And I have to say that I laughed a lot during the movie, but I also really cried during the movie. It really got to me a lot. 8th grade was definitely not my favorite part of my life. And 8th grade's definitely not something that everybody loves, since, you know, you're jumping the gap from middle school to high school. But it's a very relatable film. Anyone can relate to this. Kids, parents, like anyone can relate to this. I'm sure everyone's felt this way when they were in 8th grade. And it's a really realistic film, and also there's a car scene that really got me uncomfortable. My jaw was dropping. I was really like, oh my god, what is going on? This is insane. 8th Grade was terrific. If you're a fan of Bo Burnham, you gotta check this out, and if you love coming of age films, this is definitely a film that is up your radar. At number 19, we have The Hate U Give. This one really surprised me as well. I walked into this thinking it was going to be like a typical YA, but it was a really timely story that really got to me emotionally, and I was really immersed with what was happening on screen. Amalda Steinberg was fantastic. I don't know if I pronounced her name right, but she was really incredible. Russell Hornsby, also terrific in this film. The messages were there, the themes were there, the story was really strong, the screenplay was terrific, the directing was great. I was really blown away by this, and you know what, I'm really glad that there could be some YA films that are on this level, because not every YA film has to be like, oh, romance and you know, Hunger Games and all that other stuff. Like, it doesn't have to be all that kind of stuff. There could be grounded and realistic YA films like this, and this was a very timely story, and this was portrayed very well. I cannot wait to see more from the director. I think Amalda has a bright future ahead of her, and if she does get a nomination for Best Actress, which I doubt she will, I would actually be very happy if she got some recognition for this film. Number 18, Love, Simon. This film really got to me as well. It follows Nick Robinson as the titular character who hasn't come out of the closet yet. It's a really, really sweet and endearing movie. I laughed, I cried. Greg Berlanti directed it, and he's the guy that's behind the Arrowverse, and I was very surprised to see what he was able to do behind the camera when directing something that wasn't superhero related. But this was a really, really strong movie. It was really, really sweet. I laughed. I really enjoyed myself. There's some great moments with Josh Duhamel and Jennifer Garner as Simon's parents, and Catherine Langford from 13 Reasons Why is a great supporting addition. I thought this was a really sweet movie, and I cheered at the end of the movie. I was really into it, and I was very, very impressed with what this film was able to do. It was also one of the first studio-led films about a gay character, and I thought that was really, really interesting, and I thought they did a really good job with this film. I was very blown away. For a film like this to come out so early in the year and still stick with me, that's saying a lot, because there are a lot of films that have come out early on in the year that managed to stick with me throughout the remainder of the year, and those are the best kinds of films. When they come out so early on, you think that they're going to get buried towards the end of the year, but then some of them really stick with you, and those are the best kind of films. Alright, number 17, The Quiet Place. John Krasinski's third directorial effort. I cannot believe that Jim Halpert made this. I just binged The Office for the first time this year, and I could not believe that Jim Halpert, out of all people, made A Quiet Place. That's not to say that I didn't think he had any talent. I just couldn't believe that he directed a film like this. It was very, very intense from start to finish. To take a horror thriller with this approach where it's mostly quiet, where there's very little dialogue, was really, really impressive, and a very interesting way to make things go. And it was a very interesting way to take the film, and I loved it from start to finish. John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, they work off each other so well, but obviously they're married, and the kids were really, really terrific. The movie was short, just like it should have been, and I was really, really into it. I was very impressed with what they were able to do. I personally don't want a sequel for this to come out, but then again, I'm really curious to see how they could further along the Quiet Place storyline. And yeah, I was very impressed, and I cannot wait to see what John Krasinski does next as a director. Steve McQueen made his first film since 12 Years a Slave with Widows, which was a really engaging heist thriller that had a brilliant cast from Viola Davis to Elizabeth Debicki, Michelle Rodriguez, Liam Neeson. The list goes on and on and on. The fact that this film was not nominated for Best Ensemble is really ridiculous if you ask me. This had the best ensemble of the year, one of the best ensembles of the year. I was really engaged throughout the whole film. I was on the edge of my seat. I had no idea what was going to happen. I thought this was very unpredictable. McQueen's direction is terrific. He's a really awesome filmmaker. If you guys have not seen Hunger, Shame, or even 12 Years a Slave, you gotta check out those films. I loved seeing what he could bring to a heist thriller, and him co-writing the script with Gillian Flynn was such a delight. I love both of them. I hope this gets more recognition at the Oscars. I don't think it will, but I feel like it should get more recognition. It was a really, really awesome film, and more people should have gone out of their way to watch it. I had not heard of Blindspot until probably a week before it came to New Jersey. Daveed Diggs and Raphael Castle, I think that's his name, I apologize. They co-wrote the script together and they starred in the movie, and both of them were incredible. There was a scene in a garage towards the end of the movie that stands out as one of the year's best scenes. But Blindspot had a lot of timely themes as well. There's a lot of films on this list that feel very timely to what's going on in our current society, and this was definitely one of them. But also, it was really funny and really charming. Like, the fact that a dark movie like this could have a lot of light to it as well, I thought that was really impressive. And I think when films could balance comedy and drama together very well, it shows that you could actually make a film. It's hard to balance those two tones, and when a filmmaker does it well, it's usually awesome, and Blindspot did that beautifully. I really love this film, and I hope more people could check this out down the road. Mission Impossible Fallout. You know, for a franchise like this to get better and better and better as it progresses, it's ridiculous. Tom Cruise is the friggin' man. The stunts here, the action is unbelievable. Some of the best action I've ever seen on the big screen. But also, it's more than just a good action movie. It's a great movie, actually. And there's a lot to it that makes it great. Not only because of the action, but the filmmaking itself is wonderful. The story was engaging. I really loved the characters. They did a lot with Ethan Hunt here. I loved everything else in the movie. Like, I was so blown away by the filmmaking of this movie, but I also was very immersed into the story that was going on here. The villain was well handled. The action sequences were there. Everything about this movie is what we needed in more action movies nowadays, but also, it was just a great film. And I don't want another Mission Impossible film. I think they wrap up things very well, but if they do make a 7th one, which I feel like they will, they gotta top this one, because each one got better and better. How are they gonna top this one? I have no idea. It's gonna be very, very difficult for anyone to top Mission Impossible Fallout. Midnineties is the directorial debut of Jonah Hill. Shortest movie, I think, on the list. Sonny Suljic is a star in the making. He was amazing as Stevie. The whole story was incredible. I'm a huge coming-of-age film fanatic, and when you do it like this, it's so well done. He made a really good story about friendship and finding your purpose and finding who you really are. You know, this kid basically feels like he's nothing, and then he meets these skaters and then starts feeling a big connection with them. And there's a sequence between him and one of the characters, Ray, that really stood out for me. It made me cry, and it's a beautiful film. It's really strong. It was a lot better the second time for me, and I love it so much that I cannot wait to see whatever Jonah Hill does next as a director. I think he has a lot of potential. I've always liked him as an actor. I've always found him to be very funny, but he's also a very talented dramatic actor, and now I think he has a strong talent behind the camera too, so I'm really excited to see whatever else he does, because Mid-90s was really terrific. Searching should have been bad. It should have been bad. The fact that it was going down the same route as Unfriended, where it takes place entirely on the computer screen, but yet it takes a different approach to it and makes it like this mystery thriller. But the fact that they were able to craft such a meticulously haunting story, it was very thrilling from start to finish. John Cho was fantastic in the movie. The screenplay was really engaging, and I just really love the work that the director did on this. I'm very excited to see whatever he does next, but Searching had a very unique premise to it, took it in a direction that was never done before, and executed it so beautifully that this could change the game for found footage movies when they're taking place on a computer screen. Like, this was just so well done. I could not believe the craft that was put into this, and it was executed so well. I was really impressed with Searching. I saw Isle of Dogs 3 times in the span of 7 days, and that shows that I just love filmmaking so much. Wes Anderson's latest film was really charming. It was really fun, it was really entertaining, but it was also very sweet. And as a huge dog lover, this movie really got to me. And as someone who has his own dog, you know, it really got to me. It was a really beautiful film. I don't know why a lot of people aren't talking about this. It came out very early in the year, but I think this should get more recognition and more attention. It really is one of the best animated films the whole year, and Wes Anderson's just a genius. There's just no one like him, and I hope that Wes Anderson does another stop-motion film down the road. And this shows that stop-motion is probably the best form of animation we have. It's the most dedicated form. It's very hard-working. It takes a lot of time to do, and the execution of it here was really strong. I really loved Isle of Dogs. I wish it could have been in the top 10, and it was in my top 10 for the longest time, but then there were 10 other films I saw that I admired way more than Isle of Dogs. I never expected Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse to be as good as it was, but goddamn, it was a lot better than I had thought it would be. From the incredible animation to the top-notch voice acting to the brilliant storytelling and the character development, it was a really high-octane, exciting, in-your-face movie, but not in the worst way. Sure, the animation may have been in your face a lot, but the storytelling was just so well executed. This was funny, it was sweet, it was charming, it was exciting, the soundtrack was really good. Everything about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse worked really, really well. And this might be the best Spider-Man movie since Spider-Man 2. If I'm being honest, it might possibly top that. I haven't really thought about it quite yet, but I think it might be just as good as that one, if not better. Spike Lee returned to form with BlacKkKlansman, a really incredible story about how Ron Stallworth infiltrated the KKK. John David Washington is a star in the making after watching this film, and Adam Driver steals every scene that he's in. The film was just so exciting to watch, and yet while it's very funny and very entertaining, in its core it is a very serious story, and it makes you cry at times. It leaves you on the edge of your seat, and even if you know what's going to happen, your jaw just drops the entire time. Like, it's a really incredible film. This is Spike Lee's best film in years, and like I said before, when you're able to balance comedy and drama very, very well, then you can make films. Spike Lee did a similar thing with Do the Right Thing. BlacKkKlansman really was incredible, and you know, people may bitch about the way the film wraps up. I thought it had a very bold ending, and I'm very happy to say that I really loved the way it wrapped up. I thought it was very timely, very serious, very crucial, and Spike Lee did an incredible job, and I hope he continues to make films like BlacKkKlansman. Damien Chazelle once again crafted a really brilliant story in First Man, the Neil Armstrong movie, which starred Ryan Gosling and Claire Foy, both who were great. Claire Foy was the heart and soul of the movie. The visual effects in this movie were unbelievable. The cinematography, shot mostly on 16mm, amazing. The score, best of the year for me. I've always been fascinated with Neil Armstrong, but I really love the way this film portrayed him. I love how it wasn't just like a direct biopic about him, but I really love the execution of the film. And Damien Chazelle, the fact that he was able to do a film that was completely different from what he usually does when it comes to music, it was really exciting to see him tackle a very different subject compared to Whiplash and La La Land, two films I admire a lot. And this time around, he really did an amazing job. This film got, like, bombasted at the box office for no reason because of stupid controversy that really is the stupidest thing in the whole world. But the film itself is meticulously strong, it's engaging, it's thrilling. I couldn't breathe when I was watching this film. Like, the opening sequence alone, it's unbelievable stuff. I got to see this in IMAX, and it's probably my favorite IMAX experience of 2018, tied with seeing 2001: Space Odyssey in IMAX. And I adored First Man. I hope more people check it out when it comes out on Blu-ray. See this on the biggest screen you can. If you have like a 4K TV, you need to watch it on that 4K TV. Like, this is one of the best films of the year, visually speaking, but it's also one of the year's best films, period. I don't recall growing up with Mr. Rogers because the show ended about 2 or 3 years after I was born, but Won't You Be My Neighbor was a captivating documentary that just left me in tears. I was crying throughout the majority of this film because Fred Rogers, there's never going to be anyone like him. He was a terrifically kind-hearted man, and this documentary talked about him and his show so well. Like, Morgan Neville directed a really strong documentary. For someone who doesn't really know much about Mr. Rogers, this documentary really engrossed me, and that's the best kind of documentary, when you don't know much about the story and it just leaves you captivated, regardless if the subject had such a strong impact on you before watching said documentary. Won't You Be My Neighbor is the best documentary of 2018. It's one of the best documentaries I've ever seen in my life, and I'm not the biggest documentary watcher, but this just really got to me. And I miss Fred Rogers so much. Like, you know, it sucks that with what's going on in the world today, we don't have a man like him or someone like him, and this documentary just shows that, like, there's always going to be that one kind-hearted person that just sticks with you for the rest of your life, and Fred Rogers definitely wanted that impact on people. He was a great man, so sweet, so endearing, and you know what? He just wanted to make children happy and teach them valuable lessons, and man, he did that so well, and God, we miss him so much. Bradley Cooper's always been an actor I've really liked. The guy has been very versatile with his work, but as a filmmaker, I was very curious to see what he was going to bring to, like, the 7,000 retelling of A Star Is Born, and oh my god, this film got to me so much. This was definitely the most emotionally impactful film that was a mainstream film this year for me. His direction was incredible. His acting, probably the best he's ever done. The singing, oh my god, it took him 18 months to sing. Holy crap, his singing was great. It was incredible. And Lady Gaga, I'm very happy for how she brought her acting chops to this film. She was incredible. Not as good as Bradley Cooper, but their chemistry too was unbelievable. The songs, fantastic. Shallow, probably the best song in the movie this year. It's not the happiest movie you're going to watch. You're going to start watching, you're going to be like, oh yeah, this is definitely going to be a depressing movie, but it goes in directions that makes it more depressing than anyone could have ever expected. And the last 20 minutes of the film, I'm telling you that I couldn't believe it. I was a mess, and I just wanted a big hug after I saw this film. I loved it so much. I cannot wait to watch it again when it comes out on Blu-ray. I saw it twice in theaters, and it's really incredible. Like, the filmmaking, the music, everything about it just works so well. And if this does win Best Picture, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be mad by any means, because this really was a spectacular directorial debut from Bradley Cooper, who I cannot wait to see more from as a filmmaker. The favorite shocked the hell out of me, and I will tell you why. It's because before this, I was not really big on Yorgos Lanthimos. Not that I didn't like The Killing of a Sacred Deer. I thought it was really good, but The Lobster it didn't really work for me. I know a lot of people love it. I get why people love it. But The Favorite, after I had watched it, I couldn't find a single flaw with it. Everything about it was perfect. His direction, the screenplay, one of the year's best screenplays. Honestly, I'm kind of hoping that this film wins Best Original Screenplay. Olivia Colman, Rachel Weisz, and Emma Stone, they were all great. All of them were going to get nominated for an Oscar for sure. Everything just worked very well about this film. And you know what? The whole love triangle that happens was really awesome. It was really engaging. It wasn't necessarily about that, but I was really into it. And the characters were just so good, so well fleshed out, so well written. Everything about The Favorite worked so well. I'm glad that I finally loved the Yorgos Lanthimos film, because I think that maybe he should do another film that he doesn't write. But that being said, I'm very excited to see whatever else he tackles next, because this really was a favorite of mine in 2018. Sorry to Bother You. This was another film I saw 3 times in theaters, and the reason why I kept seeing it was because I just couldn't stop thinking about it. This film just wouldn't leave my brain forever. I saw it as many times as I could in the theater. I've watched it many other times on Hulu. I know a lot of people bash the second half of the film, and I can understand why. I appreciate the approach that was taken during that second half of the film, and Lakeith Stanfield is incredible. The white voices in this film are great. Everyone else does a great job, but the screenplay is what makes the film for me, and the direction. Like, just the commentary of it is so strong. The fact that it's like a sci-fi comedy, an alternate present-day version of Oakland, I thought that was really interesting. A very unique film very different from anything else. I know this wasn't for everybody, and I can understand why, but god damn it, I friggin' loved it. I'm sorry to bother you, but you know what? You need to do yourself a favor and check it out, because it is so freaking good. Oh my goodness, Roma broke my heart. It was a powerful film. Alfonso Cuarón is a freaking genius. Every film he does is incredible. Prisoner of Azkaban, Y Tu Mama Tambien, Children of Men, Gravity, The Little Princess. This guy is a freaking genius. I don't know how he does it. He just made another film that just... I can't. I want to make films like this man. He directed it, he wrote it, he shot it, he co-edited it. This is the best looking film of the year, and this is probably the best directed film of the year. The main actress, whose name I'm not even going to bother pronouncing, she's not even an actor, she's a teacher, and I felt like she's been acting forever. I felt like she had a natural gift for acting. She was amazing. Not for everybody, a very slow film, but it's beautifully told. It's just so depressing. There's a great Wont take in this movie involving a birth scene. I was watching this film on my TV, and I said out loud, how the fuck does he do this? Perfection. Yeah, he just did it again. Roma was a beautifully told story. Some of the best filmmaking I've seen in a very long time. I went into Hereditary blind. I didn't really know what it was about. I didn't really know who was in it, minus Toni Collette. I didn't know what genre it was. I didn't know the approach they were going to go for it. All I knew was that it was getting incredible reviews, and everybody wouldn't shut the hell up about it. And I understood why after I had seen it. I saw this very late at night. This is unlike any horror film that has been done in recent memory. This is not really a straight-up horror film. This is a family drama with horror elements under it. It's more suspenseful than scary. When it's scary, it is really scary, but it's mostly suspenseful from start to finish. There are a lot of jaw-dropping moments here. Toni Collette gives one of the best performances of the whole year, not just in lead actress, but of the whole year in general. And Alex Wolff surprised me a lot, considering the fact that he's from the Naked Brothers band, and he's come a long way, both him and Nat Wolff, since they did that show. The thrills were there. I was really, really into this film, and I really loved the approach that Ari Aster took to this. Again, another directorial debut, and his next film's coming out very, very soon, and I'm really, really excited to see what he brings to that. This has been a great year for A24. They've released so many incredible films, and they just continue to show why they're probably the best studio in the business today. Hereditary is another great example of why horror films like this need to be made. I understand that people were expecting this to be scary 100%, like all the way through. I understand that this is not for everybody, but you know what? I love the approach they took to it, the unique style. It's not necessarily a horror movie where it's like jumping in your face, but it's more horror focused on the grief and struggle after losing a loved one, or maybe even more than just one loved one. It's just so powerful to watch, and I loved it. And I hate that this isn't getting as much award attention as it should. But you know what? That's what happens when you release a movie like this so early in the year. It should have came out later in the year. And the similar thing could be said about my number one. So my number one film of 2018 was not normal. It's not a film for everybody. I saw this early in the year as well. It's another A24 film. I got the luxury of seeing this at a film festival. I got the luxury of interviewing one of the people involved with the film. I got the luxury of seeing the filmmaker on the stage. That's saying a lot. This is a really special film for me to talk about. I've seen this 3 times already. I couldn't stop thinking about it. My favorite film of 2018 is First Reformed, directed by Paul Schrader, starring Ethan Hawke, in what I consider the best performance of his entire career. The Academy and all the other award shows. The award shows have snubbed him. He was snubbed for a Globe. He was snubbed for a SAG. I don't know why they snubbed him. I don't get it. It's ridiculous. This is one of the best performances of the whole year. And Ethan Hawke's performance in this is unlike anything he's ever done before. He's been in a lot of great films. He's given a lot of fantastic performances, but this is unlike anything he's ever done. And him playing a broken pastor, it was very terrifying to watch. This was a very gut-wrenching and engrossing. This was a very gut-wrenching and very jaw-dropping thriller. It got to me in ways that I wasn't expecting it to. When I had interviewed Ethan Hawke, he had told me that I was going to be depressed about 10 minutes into the movie, and I said, okay, Ethan, I'm sure I will be. And about 10 minutes passed by, I wasn't depressed, and then something happens, and then I was depressed the whole film. And when Paul Schrader came on stage after the film ended, he asked us a lot of questions, and the guy has a brilliant mind. He's written Taxi Driver, Last Temptation of Christ. He's worked with Martin Scorsese, but this is the best thing he's done directing-wise, although this is the only thing I've seen from him as a director. But First Reformed just had a very unique premise and interesting themes to talk about and touch upon, and I just really loved it. I know this wasn't the kind of film that everybody was going to be into, but First Reformed just stuck with me more than any other film this year, and for that reason, that's why it's my favorite film of 2018. So you guys, those are all my films. Here's the list right here. Let me know what you guys think of my list. If you guys want to share with me your list, tell me down below what you think. I really appreciate you guys checking this video out. Thank you so much. Seriously, I'm so grateful that you guys, if any of you are still out there, are still sticking with me and watching my content and everything. I actually just made a film a while ago, and the final cut of that is going to be up very, very soon. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Thank you guys so much. Seriously, thank you so much. And I'll see you guys wherever I see you. Peace.